What's up, Hoosier Nation? This is the Rock Report back with another Sunday night episode. Thank you for Pizza X for sponsoring this week's player interview. This week, we're going to be talking to IU punter getting his first start, Quinn Warren. Sean, let's talk about the Kennesaw State IU game this past weekend.
Yeah, pretty great performance for the Hoosiers this week. A little bit of a slow start coming off week one, where it seemed like, things were just waiting to gel and mesh. A little bit of that, chemistry starting to build up. But second half, the Hoosiers really took it away. Starting off here with the offense, we'll go through some statistics, key players. First off, the Mendoza brothers. First two brothers to start and throw a touchdown in an NCAA football game. Pretty special moment for the two of them. Fernando, 18 for 25, 245 yards and 4 touchdowns. Alberto, 3 for 3, 35 yards and 1 touchdown. I think we really saw what Hoosier fans have been waiting to see out of Fernando Mendoza this week. We talk about him being, one of the top draft picks coming up in next year's draft. I think he really showed that talent in the second half this week. It seemed like his ball placement was starting to get a lot better. Getting into the rushing game here, a name that's been back-to-back weeks in the headlines, Lee Beebe and Roman Hemby, those two guys, both great weeks. Beebe, 11 carries for 90 yards, 1 touchdown. Hemby, 9 carries, 64 yards. On top of that, wide receiver Omar Cooper, great rush here, 75 yards for a touchdown, slid down the sideline, got out of the way of some defenders. One thing that's really impressed me the past couple of weeks is Fernando Mendoza. 3 rushes for 20 yards this week. I think he really can hurt a team with his legs, which is something we really have not seen in the past from this Hoosier football team. Ricky, get into the receivers this past week.
Yeah, and I was talking about receivers, our quarterbacks threw 5 touchdowns. That is hard to do in any football game. One thing Fernando finally realized he had Waffle House on that outside. Elijah Surratt always open. And we definitely saw that 9 catches, 97 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Great game for Elijah Surratt. He is a key player to IU Hoosiers, one of the best receivers in the conference. Definitely a player to look at. Another guy who kind of we talked about a while ago, and he had his first touchdown this season. I did see some reports that it was his first ever touchdown, but I do believe he had a touchdown last season. It's his first touchdown for the season. That is Charlie Becker. That was my offensive breakout player of the year. That was 2 catches for him for 35 yards. We saw a couple guys that some fans don't know about, but Jackson Wasserstrom, he got in there. He had a nice little catch for 17 yards. Tight ends were big. Holden State's Riley Nowakowski. Riley got his first catch for 14 yards, but he also had his first rushing touchdown of the game of the season as well. And that was pretty big thing, especially last week with goal line finishing. And we were not great in the red zone. They just decided to give it the big tight end and let him run the rock.
Yeah, get into the defense here. Top of the storylines that'll be all around Twitter this week. Lewis Moore, officially out of eligibility, pending a court case coming middle of this week. Had an interception, second week in a row. 5 tackles, 2 assisted tackles. He's a guy that can be an absolute game changer for this Hoosier football team pending this court case. Obviously, we hope for the best with Lou. Getting into some of the rest of the defense here, Aiden Fisher, after having a 25% plus tackle miss rate last week, bounced back really well this week. 4 tackles, 3 assists. A couple other names, newer guys to the football team. Kellen Wyatt, 4 tackles, 5 assists. I thought Mikal Kamara, built back into essentially what he was last season. It seemed like the pass pressure was up a ton this week. A slew of guys that played in this football game and made tackles. A couple guys that were notable here that were game changers. 2 walk-ons, 1 former walk-on, and Jeff Utzinger and Anthony Chung. Chung got an opportunity here as Bryson Bonds, the second string safety, got hurt last week. Jeff Utzinger, a guy that has played a lot of special teams so far this year and last. A slew of guys that were former Tom Allen walk-ons have done very, very well so far on special teams this year. A couple of guys did well last year. I think there's a core group of guys that really have become game changers as they've matured on this Hoosier football team. In the kick return game, Roman Hemby, 1 return for 17 yards. And a notable name the past couple weeks, Jonathan Brady at punt returner. Absolute game changer for the Hoosiers, establishing that return, essentially giving us something that we have not had in the past in huge returns since a guy like Jayshun Harris is a name that, I remember. DJ Matthews, we really haven't seen a flashy guy like that. And I think Brady's really going to step into that role this week. In the kicking game, Nico Radicic continues to not miss extra points. We'll see going into the next couple of weeks how much of that range Sig tries. And then Quinn Warren, like we talked about our interview this week, provided by Pizza X. 2 punts for 89 yards, a 44.5 average. For those that don't know punting stats, that's an incredible week for a guy that essentially was a backup until, Monday or whenever he was told he was going to start in this football game. Ricky, give us your thoughts on some of the matchups and how the Hoosiers broke out in this football game.
Yeah, my key matchup of the game, coming back to that first week, Old Dominion got it done on the ground. Something to look at for Indiana football team. That front seven, they had 14 tackles for loss. That is a big thing. That's how you win football games. Really not letting them get anything done on the ground. Kennesaw State was held to under 100 yards rushing. And that's kind of the main matchup. We're going to have to see if this defensive front, we did lose a couple guys from last year. CJ West, a big name yeah, he's playing tonight in the 49ers game. That's a guy, someone's going to have to step up. Tyreek Tucker did a great job inside, kind of not allowing Kennesaw State to get any big yards on the ground. And that's going to be a matchup we're going to have to look forward to when it comes to Big Ten play.
Yeah, I think as the next couple weeks progress, we got one more week till we get into Big Ten play. I think one thing the Hoosiers really need to try to work on establishing is some better O-line play. It seemed like it was a little bit shaky early on in that football game. Establishing the run wasn't going so well, and I think sometimes there have been a little bit of breaks in the corners in terms of the pass protection. We've got a great O-line. I think that's a stacked room. We've got some big guys, but it seems like when you bring in 30 transfers, a lot of times the communication, the chemistry, it takes a couple of weeks to build up. And that's not just for the O-line. The disconnects that we've seen last week and in the first half this week, I think those are things that just come in time playing with guys that you really haven't been around. And I think that's kind of what we saw last year as well. A little bit of a slow roll to start, but as things get going, guys play some more football together. That communication piece really becomes the difference in, winning a game by 15 and winning a game by 50 plus early on in the year.
Yeah, in Indiana, they have one more game versus Indiana State, a Mallory coach football team. That name sounds familiar to most Indiana football fans. That is a family member of Bill Mallory, who's coaching that team. That's their last non-conference game until Big Ten play, but there's a couple things that are going to have to be cleaned up that game. But let's see how many guys get on the field before Big Ten play. But Sean, we have Quinn Warren in the waiting room. We'll talk to him next week. We'll be back on Thursday with another we'll break down the Indiana State game. But for now, let's bring it over to Quinn Warren.
All right, Hoosier Nation, we're here for our official Pizza X interview. Thank you to Pizza X, our official NIL partner. We're here with Indiana punter Quinn Warren. Quinn, thank you for coming on.
Of course, thanks for having me.
So this past week, your first start at punter, kind of take us through your mindset a little bit. What were your feelings kind of getting to know that you were going to start this game?
Yeah, I mean, early on in the week, I knew it was definitely a possibility. So kind of taking every rep like a game rep, wanting to be exactly the same in everything I do. Didn't want to change anything up from if I was backing it up or starting. So kind of just treated it like a normal practice week, but definitely knew there's something bigger at stake on Saturday.
Some Quinn, and then also, it's not your first time starting a game, but it is first time starting at punter. Live rep punting in a game, there's a snap you got to catch. There's people rushing at you. You got to punt the ball. Did you have any welcome to college football moments this week? Kind of that really hit hard. That it's like now it's the time that you're going to be on the field punting.
Definitely the fact that it's only one rep. I mean, in practice, you can have anywhere from 5 reps to 10 reps. So going out there knowing you got one shot at it and didn't hit the best ball to start the game off. So it was kind of a wake up call. How much different it really is from practice.
All right. So take us through a little bit. I think sometimes our fans, don't really know the specials world too much. Talk us through kind of what was going through your mind in warmups and, into your first reps and how that kind of looks different from, backup to starter.
Yeah. I mean, definitely when I got out there, the first thing I did was kind of look around at the flags, check what the wind was doing. And and had to make sure the wind wasn't gusting on the field and affecting the way I dropped the ball or anything like that. So I was definitely paying more attention to the elements and how that might affect how I play. And I was kind of just, going through any kind of punt I might have, whether it's backed up, if it's a pooch punt, field punt, which hash. So kind of went through my own script in my head, prepare myself for any situation I might see, how fast I need to kick the ball, and placement on the field.
Yeah, and college football is a hard game. Obviously, every kid has a dream they want to go out and play football, college football. But who helped you the most in life? Could be coaches, teammates, family. Kind of who helped you prepare for that moment?
I'd say kind of like you said, family and coaches. Obviously, my parents were backing me. My parents and my siblings were backing me. Like, knew I was had all the confidence in the world in me, and past coaches that I started off kicking with were texting me and kind of giving me help, what to look for, how to treat it mentally and physically. Everyone was kind of there step by step through this process, going into starting my first game at punt.
Awesome. Well, obviously, kind of defying the odds, coming in as a walk-on, playing in your first year, and now starting as the punter in your second year. Take us through a little bit of kind of what your story was to become an Indiana football player and eventually become a starter.
Yeah, I mean, my junior year of high school, I started kicking kind of just on the side for fun. Decided I'd play some football. Didn't know anything about what I was doing until senior year. Started working with kicking coach Mark Hagee out of Indy. Going into my senior year, didn't really expect anything of it. Just wanted to help my high school team out more. Started posting on Twitter, getting some interest from coaches. I was down to kind of UConn and IU. Great staff at UConn, great staff here. Ended up choosing IU just since hometown team. My brother went here. I was excited to play for him. And then obviously when you get in the door, it's a grind from day one. Um, Everyone's fighting for the same spot. And you just got to perform and show up every day. So that's what I've tried to do. Tried to have Coach Kane and Coach Sig have the confidence in me, to put me out there and deliver when they need me.
Great. And then Quinn also, specialists, tend to stay out of the spotlight, only get talked about, if you shank a punt, miss a kick, stuff like that. Give us one thing that like you would like fans to know about you.
Um, I mean, tough one. I mean, I think fans need to realize that there's a lot of pressure in those moments. Obviously, a lot of people just think it's kicking a ball, but the amount of work that goes into kicking that ball and how close you can be to hitting a great punt or shanking a punt is a matter of centimeters. So I think just knowing like it's a hard job we do too, is important for fans because obviously most don't realize that.
Talk us through essentially the one thing that fans probably didn't realize this week. Starting at holder is a huge difference for the kicker. I mean, that chemistry is essentially everything in that game. So, kind of talk us through what your mindset was as a holder and how you essentially serviced that battery this week.
Yeah, I mean Mitch is a great holder, and Mark and Nico have been working with him for um, what is it, 8 months now since he got here. So kind of stepping into that role, Mitch helped me out a lot, and Nico and Mark helped me out a lot. I mean, Mark's a great snapper, and Nico was very patient with seeing how I hold the ball versus Mitch. And I mean, just building that chemistry leading up to game week was very important to us. Whether it was Nico just watching me take snaps, how I hold the ball, or getting the live reps throughout the week. But yeah, I mean, it's just next man up, and Mark and Nico did a great job at trusting me, and we got the job done. So
Yeah, and Quinn, you definitely got the job done on the field. Quick question. You were on a car ride for let's say 8+ hours. Who would be the
yeah,
one teammate you'd want in the passenger seat?
One teammate. Ooh. I mean, if I need the energy, I'd probably go with Alberto or Fernando Mendoza. They got a lot of energy, but um, if I just wanted someone to talk to, probably Charlie Becker, wide receiver. Yeah.
Great picks. We appreciate you coming on. A big thank you to Pizza X, our official NIL sponsor, for today's interview. Be on the lookout for some social media content this week coming from Pizza X. They'll be feeding the specialist room this week. Quinn, thank you again for coming on. Best of
Yeah.
luck this week against Indiana State. Hopefully another Hoosier W.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Hoosier fans, thank you for listening to our interview brought to you by our official NIL partner, Pizza X. Look forward to an episode coming out midweek this week, previewing the matchup versus Indiana State. As we get rolling into Big Ten play coming up here in a couple of weeks, we look for another big win from the Hoosiers. Thank you guys for listening, and as always, go Hoosiers.